Welcome to Talk Tuesdays with
the Muscle Mommy
and That Girl Squats, or at trail.of.champions. And today we're busy. we are running and gunning, but we're going to talk about when we think it's time to let go of things or leave things. I always think of whenever I was a lifeguard, if you don't know, you go, and that was pertaining to if you weren't sure if somebody was drowning or not, but I think that it's just a good life motto to kind of go through, and especially with some of your life changes that you have officially announced that you have retired from bodybuilding.
Yes.
I felt like we kind of skimmed on it with Ashley here, but I felt like it was something that we should talk about.
Yeah.
In depth.
Yeah. Well, in regards to my choice in not competing anymore, most of the people know that I'm very much looking, building my relationship with God. And I was having this conversation with somebody. I'm like, hey, I don't expect you to do what I do. You know what I mean? I think everybody's, whatever your spirituality, whatever, is very personal. But I have chosen a path of following Christ. And honestly, I was just brushing my teeth. And the idea was it can't be the Holy Spirit spoke to me, how about not competing? And I went, oh. And it was immediately this weight lifted off my shoulders. And then as soon as I thought that, a flood of benefits came rushing in afterwards. And I'm a single mom of two. I take care of my kids all the time, except for every other weekend. So, I want to push the monetary investment that I was using for coaches or my coach, and the time that put into that into my children. So that was a big event, or a big decision, But ultimately, there was too much to gain by not competing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I made it to the biggest stage in the world. I'm very proud of myself. I do recognize that I had more to give, that I didn't end off maximizing my potential. But Jordan Peterson, I'm a huge fan of him. He said, you have to choose your sacrifices, or your sacrifices choose you. So ultimately, I'm sacrificing reaching my maximum potential so that I can give back to my children more.
Mm-hmm.
And I am totally okay with that sacrifice. So I'm just switching gears where it was just time.
Yeah.
It's time.
I think it's so, the amount of times that we talk about being selfish and it being okay to be selfish is we do it a lot, but we also talk about giving back to others. And I feel like that is such a amazing thing that you can do, is that you can take yourself out of wants,
Mm-hmm.
right? To give to your kids.
Yeah.
And it's just so much bigger than you. And I think that is very admirable.
Yeah, and the other thing, I don't know many other single mom Olympians that are really doing it, and don't get me wrong, I've had support and help along the way, but the daily tasks, only I'm living my life, and
Mm-hmm.
only I know the burden I carry. And I don't mean to say that in a negative way, but the weight that I carry as a result of being a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just taking that off my shoulders was a massive relief. And I'm oh, my kids are going to benefit from this.
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to sit and I took my daughter to get froyo.
Ah.
And she grabbed her cup, and then I grabbed one, and she turned around. She was like, oh, you get to have froyo. And I was like, yeah. And it was just kind of what the hell have I been doing?
Yeah.
Those little things that a lot of people kind of take for granted, I feel like. And I don't regret having pushed through bodybuilding, going from a pro card and getting the Olympia qualification and going. But my whole goal was that if I made it to that stage, I knew it would garner more trust of the public so that I could get more clients, which would in turn allow me to provide for my children. So that was a whole goal for me, and I obtained that goal. And so moving forward, it's kind of like at this point, I just feel like it'd be my ego
Mm-hmm.
doing it instead of, you know,
Yeah. And the thing is that the stage is always going to be there. So if you change your mind in like 3 years, whatever, whenever you feel comfortable to get on stage again, you can,
yes,
you know?
I've been a bodybuilder for, 10 years, but I am all about like reinventing.
Mm-hmm.
Like people don't know I've had dreadlocks, I did beekeeping. I'm very creative in regards to like creating lotions and all of that's kind of been put on hold for a decade and now I'm like I just got a house.
Yeah.
Like my kids have their forever home and I just want to switch gears to where I'm taking care of my home fully
Yeah.
and nurturing it and cherishing it in the time of my kids. And you're right, the stage will always be there should I
Mm-hmm.
choose to take that route, but I really want to just see other people succeed.
So stepping into your coaching and mentoring and everything
Yes.
like that.
Yeah, and who knows? Who knows what's right around the corner?
Yeah. Would you ever consider doing any other sports? Like
I'm
competitive
not gonna
sports?
lie, I've thought about it.
Like high rocks
What's
or
that?
something?
Is that like
No,
mud runs?
I doubt you would do high rocks.
What is that?
It's like primarily cardio,
Like
really.
CrossFit-ish?
No, more endurance. So they do like 1,000 meter run, then like rows, and then 1,000 meter, and then ski erg. So it's not really there isn't the weight portion of the of CrossFit, you know?
I'm actually excited about downsizing my body. I've
Hmm.
said that people are like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm ready to kind of take some of the muscle mass off.
Hmm.
Before they're, like, oh my gosh, you work so hard for it. Like, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I want to, I'm open. I'm open.
Yeah.
Like, I thought about mud runs.
Mud runs are fun. I'll do one with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would prefer Spartans. I
Okay.
like Spartans. They're a lot of fun. And then like the Tough Mudders. It's just Tough Mudders are more prone to be a little bit more dangerous just because of the terrain.
Okay.
Just the terrain and then also some of the obstacles and also the amount of mud and like nastiness from other people.
Ew.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so those are just like my only like reasons why I prefer Spartan.
Okay.
Spartan does have uh like one or two mud variations, but it's very quick. You just get in and out and then you're done versus like a Tough Mudder is like all in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But that's something I thought about. Like, maybe,
Spartan, we can go somewhere
yeah.
and do it. So that's what Melanie and I always do every year, almost every year. Almost every year. We try to do it. We pick a place and then do a Spartan or something.
So they're throughout the nation.
Hmm. So we did one in Hawaii.
What?
Yeah, that was fun.
Nice.
And then, well, she did that one, and then I drank all day. And I went to the beach and then I hung out with other people. But then we did one in San Jose and then in Denver.
Yeah. So you
Hmm.
can see things,
Hmm.
yeah, and still achieve your goals.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I have Okay, so I'm switching the subject
sure.
because I actually like running. I don't mind it. I don't necessarily run like fast. Like I'm not necessarily a sprinter.
You're jogging.
Jogging.
Mm-hmm.
I like jogging. But everybody's like, you can't jog, like you can't run and be a bodybuilder. But then there's a lot of hybrid athletes. So I'm just like, what is your opinion?
When it comes to bodybuilding prep, I think that the sprints, like a hit, would be beneficial. I don't know about jogging because your heart rate gets too high and then I've always known that when your heart rate gets too high, your body taps into first source, which can typically be your muscle over the fat, which is why you want to keep your heart rate at a lower level. What?
Well, running, like jogging, you can kind of control your heart rate. So like in a like you can stay in that like 160
if you
and
have
up.
good cardiovascular.
Yeah,
Because like
I
whenever,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when I did that, I don't, the thing is I don't know, I cannot name any bodybuilder that regularly jogs in prep and or out of prep and
Yeah.
still is successful with their prep.
Yeah.
So I think there's a solid reason behind why they don't. I know like
I know bikini competitors and physique competitors.
they'll run,
Yeah.
jog.
No, even like some like Ashley did a fucking 5K or six like a 10K like 2 weeks out.
Did she really?
Yeah.
I was unaware of that.
Yeah, she had it on her YouTube and I was like, ah,
Wow.
runners.
Yeah.
You know?
And did she like did she train for that too?
No.
She just went out and did a 10K.
Yeah.
So I would, I'm like if she's consistently doing it, but one
Yeah.
time I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it to like officially say, but I know with my clients, I'll be like, you need to keep your heart rate, at a certain level, like
Yeah.
not bump up too much.
What kind of heart rate do you? So, list, what would you consider a list?
Between depending on their age, 130 to 150.
Interesting. What for lists?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, continue.
Depending on the person.
And then like medium. Is that miss?
I don't know. Light impact steady state.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe in the 120s even.
Yeah, because I would consider like 110 to 135 would be lists.
Light impact.
Light impact.
So that's
That's
essentially just steps.
no.
You don't think so?
No, if I'm just walking, my heart rate is only at like 90 to 100.
See,
Like
whenever.
maybe 104, maybe 104. If I start putting like if I'm at a 7
Mm-hmm.
incline
What speed?
at 3,
Uh-huh.
I'm at like 135.
Okay.
But my heart rate, like it takes a lot for my heart to
To
get
get up.
up. Yeah.
See, and
So,
I
yeah.
remember talking to somebody years ago about this, and we were talking about she was an avid runner, and I'm like, I can't do that. Like whenever I get my heart rate gets up way too high. So I think it also has to do with your cardiovascular
Yeah.
capabilities. But I like to keep, yeah, my clients always tell them like no more than 150, depending on their age. But
Yeah.
130, 140 is like getting on the cardio. I tell them a 10 incline, anywhere between 3.3 and 3.6.
Hmm.
And even if without a heart rate monitor, I tell them, like, hey, if I were to walk up to you and you're on your cardio machine, you are clearly laborious, but not out of breath, like when you're doing hard cardio, like when you do like a hit or something.
Yeah. But high intensity, like that would be 160 to 180.
Yes, absolutely.
So
And
that's what I'm saying is that list is like 150 is like way too close to 160.
it's right there on the cusp.
Yeah. So that's why I was just like, that's more of like a miss to me.
Yeah.
So like 140 to 155-ish
Is
would
miss a thing?
I've seen some,
You have?
yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's what they call it, but I have seen some like medium intensity, like
Medium intensity.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, so that's what I talk about when I do their cardio.
Yeah.
Specifically their cardio after either fasted or post workout.
Hmm. And I'm just asking for like the viewers,
Mm-hmm.
right? Trailblazers.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I would consider that like 110 to 130
Mm-hmm. Would be less
would be less.
medium 130 to 150.
Yeah. And then
High intensity
yeah, 160
150.
and stuff.
Yep.
Because like if I'm at 180 for a long period of time, I'm fucking
Gas.
taxed.
Yep.
Taxed.
See, that's more like the hit thing
Yeah.
because that's what I did my last prep.
Yeah.
I would do the treadmill like warm up flat for a couple minutes, 2, 3 minutes, then increase. And then my trainer at the time would have me go from like 25 incline, 25, 25, and my heart rate would cap out at like 180. That was
Yeah.
horrible. So bad. Mostly because of the shins.
Hmm. I don't really get like so whenever I'm running, I can run at like I'm saying run in quotations. I'm just gonna say it because I will not say jog.
Yeah.
That's just not the
We're
way my
using
brain
run
works.
as jog.
whenever I'm running, if I'm at like a 9-minute mile, 10-minute mile, my heart rate will stay around like 135, 145 maybe
Yeah. I think
for
it's,
like miles.
yeah, and I think it's very independent.
Yeah.
I have a client,
And I want to do it again.
yeah, and hey, if you find it successful for yourself, do it. If your coach says no, listen.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. I have a client and she told me, she's like,
But I want to grow my legs, so I'm like paranoid.
exactly, like you don't see the giant bodybuilders running
But they can't.
because of
They
their heart
physically can't. Yeah.
or because of the size of their legs.
Both.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Yeah.
You
But
know? And there's like there's also like bodybuilders that don't do yoga because they physically can't, but they should.
they should.
I'm not advocating for running, by the way. I'm
No, it's
asking
here
questions.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm just asking
Absolutely.
questions.
Yeah, I think like I have a client, she was telling me, she's like, man, I miss running.
Hmm.
She's like, I started to run again. I could just my mental health. And I
Yeah.
said, it is more beneficial for you to run than not run
Hmm.
because if your mind's right, I feel like your body will follow,
Yeah.
right? So like a lot of people need that space mentally.
Yeah.
And then I have a client, she's like, I used to run all the time, especially when she was like, whenever I'd get angry, I'd run. And then
Yeah.
she ran so hard that I think she broke her foot
Fuck.
because she was like
I've
just
been, yeah.
pounding the pavement.
Yeah.
She's like, I can't do that anymore. And she's a little bit older now,
Yeah.
like, so it's like, well, you got to think about things that aren't as high impact,
Yeah.
biking, rowing,
Hmm.
elliptical.
Hmm.
That's a great one.
Hmm.
And also mental health wise, that older client that broke her foot works with psychiatric patients.
Hmm.
And so we have conversations about, mental health, depression, et cetera. And she was saying one of the best things you can do for depression, first off, is to get up super early. It regulates your circadian rhythm.
Hmm.
And then secondly, is whenever you're in a funk and you feel that like in your chest, you ever feel that like an
Yeah.
anxious or weird feeling in your
Oh,
chest?
my life.
Yeah. Right.
Do I ever? I live here.
She was saying do one thing at a time with your
Hmm.
body. So something that takes like your right side, your left side. So like the elliptical, the bike,
Yeah.
doing unilateral movement. So you have to use one side of your body at the time. At a
Yeah.
time.
I also love biking. So that's what I've been doing. I've just kind of been like in this whole like self-reflection. One, the reason why I brought it up is because I was literally watching a High Rocks vlog this morning, and then I see more and more and more hybrid athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was a big influx at the end of last year, probably like starting August is whenever you started seeing it. And there's just, I always have wanted to be functional.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that was a reason why I started to run. One, it was a big challenge for me because I have loose ligaments in my hips and I'm like a Barbie doll where I can like pop out my hips and
Uh-huh.
also my shoulders, which is weird.
Yeah.
But growing up, I never had to run in PE, and I was also chubby, you know. And so that was always kind of like my thing is like, oh, well, I'm not a runner. I'm not a runner. I could never run. I could never run. I was like, no, fuck that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run. I'm gonna learn how to run. And then I like doing the Spartans and I like doing those things. It is only for like it's only like one event a year, but I also need to make sure that I can do it because there's different levels of Spartan races.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the 5K, the 8 to 10K, or it's technically a 3 to 5K, 8 to 10K, and then a bigger one. I don't know the jump. I don't remember the jump. I think it's like a 15 or a 20. And so you still need to like kind of like run in between these things and being able to do it comfortably and not
Mm-hmm.
be dying,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep. Well, and you think about CrossFit athletes, like they're stacked.
And natural.
Yeah. Like gen they look great
Yeah.
and they're high intensity and their cardiovascular is through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
They have muscle, so it's like there's something to it. There's got to be.
Yeah.
And I see, Jewett when he's in prep, he does little hit exercises in the gym. He'll
Mm-hmm.
do like the bike and then he go to his ropes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly what he does, but like I'll see him like walking back and forth,
Yeah.
and his break is, I'm assuming, from one movement to the next.
Yeah.
He was shredded. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I would think, I have some of my clients doing HIIT. It's just you can't do, from what I understand, too much HIIT because then you'll start tapping into that muscle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the name of the game with bodybuilding is burn the fat, spare the muscle.
Exactly.
So,
And yeah. Yeah. Because I was just so what I was saying is that I've been in this like state of like reflection of like what made what was I doing the last prep that made it easier for me to not necessarily
be miserable.
be miserable. Exactly. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was just like, what did I do? Like what's different now versus like now versus then. And like one of the things was like I had my treadmill, which as you know, I'm always on my little
Walker.
walking pad, but it's different than whenever I would go out into the garage, go onto the treadmill and watch motivational YouTubes. I would work on my little blog
For
and
sure.
then I would come back, eat, work out, go work out, do all my work,
Yep.
you know? And I just felt like my day, it was very different.
You liked that better or worse?
I liked it.
You liked it.
And then I would do my little mini runs
Yeah, and it worked for you.
and it worked. I was tiny, so that's why I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. Like that's why I haven't done it
But you
again.
started with less muscle than you would
Hmm.
have now.
Yeah, exactly.
So it might still work for you. And that's something
Yeah.
that you would just, I think, would have to just experiment with.
Yeah.
Like last prep I learned, middle of June and July, and here in Texas, it's, caps out at like 110.
Yeah.
And I would be out there at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, right when the heat was at its max, and walk. And I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Drenched in sweat. My heart rate wouldn't get too high. I could listen to my music, be in nature, get vitamin D. Like that, I found was a really way more beneficial for me than sitting on the stairs and, just in agony. Like all my joints hurt, my back
Yeah.
hurt. You know what I mean? When you're that lean.
Yeah.
So that was more beneficial for me.
And you kind of talked about it is that like as far as running, there's different areas that you can run that is less impact. And it's also the way that you're running.
Yep.
Because like whenever I definitely improved my form
Mm-hmm.
within running because like, I don't,
Yeah, you're not
you know, it's
the
more of
movement
a,
soft.
yeah.
Yep.
And so then it didn't necessarily hurt. Like obviously there's that like muscle fatigue whenever you're first getting into it, but it's just like any other thing. Like whenever you
Anything.
start, yeah, with anything.
I
Like
always tell people if you see me running, something is definitely wrong.
yeah.
So in prep last year, my house that I had before, it backed up to a public park, McAllister Park. And to get there, I could walk through my neighborhood and then I'd have to like go through like tall grass.
Hmm.
It had just torrential downpoured like 4 days before, and the mosquitoes were notoriously bad in that area because like,
Yeah,
the
the water.
water sits, and I'm walking through, and I look down and I see a couple and I'm like, okay, and I start picking up the pace and I look down and I am like covered.
Oh, hell no.
I'm talking about covered. Like I could not swipe off the mosquitoes on one hand, go to the other, and I would be covered again. And I started to
Nasty.
run, and I got up to where it was dry, and I start like, okay, I can walk. And just again, just swarmed. And I was like, oh my gosh. And that was the only time I ran. And I
Mm-mm.
ran my butt all the way home.
Mm-mm.
I got like
I would have ran home too.
10 minutes and I was just welted up. Oh, it was horrible. It's the worst. And the mosquitoes in Texas
Yeah, no, they're no
are
joke.
not, yeah.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Oh my gosh.
They
I
fat.
was just like, not to be like, I was like covered in blood. Like it was
Yeah,
just,
well, because if you're swatting them away,
yep. And I
you're like,
was,
give me my blood back.
yeah, wearing shorts too because it's so hot
Mm-mm.
out. It was horrible. That was not good.
No, no.
Yeah,
That's
that was the last time I ran.
That was last August?
That was it was like June.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was rough.
Something else I guess I have to consider about if I probably won't. Maybe, I don't know. I love biking. Something that I need to consider is my boobs. I don't
Oh yeah.
I need to make sure.
You gotta get high impact
Yeah.
bras.
So that it might not even be a th that's why I'm just saying like it's just been something that I've been thinking about. It's
Yep.
not necessarily something that I'm gonna act upon.
Yeah.
But I do like having my bike and I have a trainer, but now I need to figure out like it's a bike trainer,
Mm-hmm.
not like a
Personal.
Jenna trainer.
Yeah.
Uh and so I do like doing that. It's just I need to figure out where I'm gonna put it. Like, this last year I had it
Right
like
there.
right there, which I might do again, but sometimes I just feel like it makes things cluttered.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. I'm going through like a transition.
It's fun.
Yeah. And I guess I'm gonna be spending a lot more time at Warehouse, so I could always just like do cardio there.
Yeah, and they're not AC. They don't have AC, right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so in the summer that'd be great.
Yeah.
I like that. I like to be like drenched in sweat.
The big ass fans work though. Like they
If it's got a good flow,
yeah.
if it's stuffy, that's
No, it's not.
different. When
Yeah.
there's like at least, you have good airflow,
Yeah.
totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they do.
Yeah, that's
They
good.
do.
Okay, so letting go.
Yeah.
How to let go? I'm still learning. I'm still learning. That's a hard one for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really tough one.
Yeah. Whether it's people or habits or jobs,
Yep.
whatever. I always say, well, I don't know. I feel like this year is like a theme of if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever that is, that's if it's not a hell yes, then just let it go.
Yep. Yep. I have a tendency to focus on the good and like reminisce, and I'll have to literally like out loud be like, stop. Like, don't go down that path.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't fantasize. Like, don't think about potential. Like, you have to just focus on what it is
Mm-hmm.
and how it made you feel
Yeah.
or felt.
Yeah.
And then yeah, just put one foot in front of the other and just keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
Keep thugging it out. That I don't know, that's a hard one for me, like really hard.
I think we kind of talked about it with like Ashley, how she was just like, whenever she was leaving her toxic ex, she just realized that she had to fully leave the state. She had to completely remove herself.
If I could do that in some of my situations, I would have,
Yeah.
without a doubt. Because access, the idea of having access, or it's very tempting,
Yeah.
like you don't put an alcoholic in a bar.
Yeah.
Well, a recovering alcoholic. Because a lot of people, that temptation is real, and it's hard to, you know, a lot of people just struggle with self-control. Like that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It just takes practice,
Mm-hmm.
you
It's
know?
very doable to overcome, but
Yeah.
if we struggle with that, I don't think it's a bad thing either. Like, I think it's really good for you to admit, like, I struggle with that. And then it's like, okay, how can I strengthen that and get past it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're a recovering alcoholic, it's like probably not a good idea for me to go into a bar
Yeah.
and be sober and try to remain sober. And everybody's take a shot, or they're, having fun,
Yeah.
like it's okay to not put yourself in situations.
Mm-hmm. Something that just because we're on the topic as far as like recovering alcoholics or recovering drug addicts or whatever, they tend to like, alcohols or whatever, Narcotics Anonymous, they always have sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
So having an accountability partner in
Oh, for
that
sure.
regard, of whatever you're letting go,
Yeah.
you know? For you, for which is funny how like that became the topic because we're talking about like letting go of your career.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't necessarily need an accountability partner for that. That one would be more of a reflection, like a reflective part of, okay, pros and cons list. I think that's also something that people can do to help through
Absolutely.
those processes. Is it really something that like, because sometimes whenever you're looking at it from like a little pinhole, like a peephole, you're
Mhm.
like, oh, this is great. This is great. Like everything's fine.
All
Everything's
the time.
fine, you know? And then you write everything down of, is it apple, like, is it even? Is it an even good and bad?
Hmm.
And then whenever you start writing, you can figure out easily which one is more good and what's more bad. Because sometimes you also like, especially with bodybuilding or fitness, you tend to gaslight yourself into doing more, which is how you become successful.
Hmm.
But whenever you put those in like layman's terms, I guess it just makes it a little bit more objective.
Yeah. I mean, now like there's a couple people at the gym in prep, and I'm like, ah,
What, you want to do it?
yes, but now I started my own cut, so I'm still going through the motions of a prep,
Yeah.
but without all of the pressure, and I'm still allowing myself I'm having more fun with my diet, right? But like I'm seeing people get leaner, and I'm like, ah, like, and I'm so excited for them, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm really, but like Todd. I saw Todd in the gym and I asked him, like, hey, what's up with you? Like, what's your plan? He's like, he tells me or whatever. He's like, but man, I see people getting ready. He's like, I get that itch. And I'm like, yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like, I don't think it'll ever go away, that
Yeah.
desire, and I miss like thinking about the smell of spray tan and, like getting my hair done.
But the thing is, with trail champions and especially with like the champions retreats, like these are all things that you can kind of like use as, oh, I'm gonna have like a little mini cut just for this.
Yep.
And then you can decide, okay, well, I'm gonna also get like a little spray tan. Like whenever we decide that, like, especially if you're going to be teaching
Yep.
and if you want to like show your body, like,
I do. And I also want to show people that you don't have to be necessarily a competitor to maintain like a good physique,
yes.
right? So that's my new goal for myself,
Hmm.
is at these events, like, um I want to be a little bit just more trim, you know, and
Comfortable in your own body.
yeah. And I've also, past what, since October, so 4 months,
Hmm.
I've been gaining and put on size. I'm like, okay, it's time for me to do a little mini cut.
Hmm.
And now I have like freedom to do what I want to do. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And get back to my,
Have kombucha if you want.
yeah, right.
No,
Oh, I haven't had a kombucha. Do you have one?
I don't. I don't. Sorry.
But yeah, I think that yeah, I could get like a spray tan and get my hair and makeup done if I wanted.
Yeah.
And
Well, I would like to have a makeup artist there or two,
that'd be
two
smart.
different ones, just so they can answer any questions that competitors may have
Oh,
for both the male and the female. Obviously, we're gonna have some of the makeup artists on the pod
we
in the
should get
future.
Elaine.
Who's
Yeah.
Elaine
She is one of the,
from Laboo
no,
from Maine Secrets?
no, no. It's her, and forgive me for not remembering her friend's name. They're like the OG makeup artists,
Mm,
like OG from like the early 90s.
mm,
So they're both a little bit older.
mm-hmm.
Oh, but they're funny. They did our hair and makeup for or I'm sorry, just our makeup for the Olympia photo shoot.
Oh, okay.
And so I was asking like, hey, like what's your story? And they were like, Deb, Manning. She was like, you don't know who these people are? And I was like, no, I'm so sorry. Like, she's like, they've been around for a long time, a
Nice.
very long time. She was like, the thing is they don't have that social media, you
Yeah.
know, it's just like reputation. And they're like, so I would love to have one of them because they've been around the sport in the beginning. So they've seen the evolution.
Hmm.
And you'd be really curious to like to hear their perspective on things. So the
Yeah.
things they were saying were like, wow, like they're really, really,
Exciting.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They've been around for decades.
That'd be really cool. Something else
Good lad.
I feel like people will need to common theme, I guess, is in life that I've been seeing is that there are people switching divisions. And
Hmm.
so letting go of old divisions and going into new divisions. Like Missy Truscott just changed from fitness to figure. Or people talking about more people retiring. So, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, or people that are kind of split between divisions.
hmm
That's a hard one too.
a lot of people switching divisions from bikini to fit division.
Yeah, my friend is doing that right now.
Annie.
Annie.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
Swan is too.
Yeah. That's a hard one because when you have it in your mind of a certain division and then you're told by coach,
Or
hey,
judge.
or judge, do this, and it's kind of like, dang, like I've had my eyes set on this, but that tunnel vision that you were talking about, when you get focused on what you want, other people can see things that you really can't. We have a hard time seeing our blind spots, right?
hmm
And you got to look at the bigger picture.
hmm
So I always say rely heavily on a coach or judge, preferably the judge,
Yeah.
right? But if you're like a fresh competitor, a coach. But like when I talk to my clients, I'm like, what do you want to look like in your off season?
Yeah.
That's like the biggest thing because you peak for one day.
Yeah.
That's it. And then how do you like to train?
Yeah.
Because I have a client, she like loves to train heavy upper body and she loves the way physique looks. And I'm like, let's do it. Let's do physique.
Yeah. I know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
I
Yeah.
can't wait for her.
I can't either.
But letting go of those divisions, it's just kind of like, all right, like
hmm
I'm not doing this, and accepting, I have known people that they really want to do wellness because they love and appreciate what competitors look like, but they just don't have like the muscle bellies for it.
hmm
And that's a hard pill to swallow for some people. It's like, but it is what it is. Like you know what I mean? It's like, hey, you could grow into wellness,
hmm
but right now let's just focus on bikinis, see how you do,
Yeah.
get the feedback, and ask them like, hey, I'm interested in doing wellness. Do you think I have the frame for it or whatever? And see what
Yeah.
the judges say. But
Agreed. I feel like sometimes I get into this thing. I'm like, would I even do good at wellness? And I'm like, and then I look at my pictures. I'm like, no, like my legs are growing.
yeah,
They're good.
yes,
They're I think I do think that I have the structure for it too.
yeah. Well, and the other thing is the posing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
bodybuilding, by and large, once you get to stage, is an illusion. Everybody, this is not to say like everybody looks great, um, but there's little tips and tricks to make yourself appear bigger or
Yeah.
smaller. You know what I mean? So like your posing is extremely important once you hit that stage. Very important. So, even if, we don't have like I've seen women that don't even have good glutes. Like or I shouldn't say good. Big glutes,
Yeah.
right? And wellness is notorious for having a very dominant lower half. Not even have big glutes, but the way they posed was
hmm
insane. Like I would see them backstage and be like, not judging, just like interesting that they chose wellness, but then they get on stage and like they have the screens in the back, they hit their pose, and I'd be like, holy crap, like
Yeah.
that was not backstage,
Yeah.
but they convey well on stage.
Yeah.
So that's like pros and cons list,
Yeah.
figure it out. And like
hmm
Missy's switching from fitness, I'm assuming
Yeah.
that her body might be not doing well with the impact
Yeah.
because fitness has a routine.
Yeah. I don't think that because she talks about it on her thing,
She does.
but like whenever she did her first like tuck back after her ACL tear, like she fully broke down like multiple times, like started crying. And it was just like it like hurt my heart because she was just like she was freaking herself out. Like she was like, "Come on, like you can do this. Like why aren't you doing this? Like you can do this." And because she would just like jump up and then she like you could see that she was like definitely fighting. And it was so cool to see her get back on stage and still be undeniable, but having that, I mean, as you know, like being a bodybuilder is fucking hard. You have to get lean and everything, but then imagine adding flips and tricks and stuff like that.
Fitness, I think, is the most impressive category out of all of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Because I would be doing my cardio and thinking about these women like they have to do these routines. And I'm sitting here crying in my head about having to walk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these women are absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And to do that with your joint being so lean, your joints, the impact, and the high, very high risk of injury.
Yeah. And that was the thing, is that she was, the propensity of getting injured, I think, was outweighing the gain that she can do. And she's, I know, like from the very beginning, I was just like, why isn't she like, because she could just like hop into any other category, not any other category, but she could hop into another physique or figure fairly easily just because of how lean that she does get, and her proportions are good. And it makes sense to me. I do think that it is really cool that one like little T has been coming up in the ranks. Like she got second in 2023 for fitness, and her muscularity is not there. Do you know who I'm talking about? And but she has the skills. And so I felt like that was very, I feel like the bodybuilding community has been making a statement recently of like, hey, like stop pushing as hard. Like as far as like leanness goes and conditioning goes. And I felt like that was a big statement, and she did really well. I think she got like fourth this year.
Yeah.
But that also like added Missy into it, so that made sense. And she did get a little bit leaner, and she got more muscle mass. But she's like 90 pounds. She's tiny.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
She's literally little teeth. And I remember seeing that she was natural too, on top of that, which is
impressive.
Impressive.
Very
wild.
impressive.
Wild.
Red flags and green flags of clients.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Because have you ever fired a client?
Yes, I have. Yep.
When did you know that it was time for you to fire a client? When were to let that client go?
When they weren't adhering to the plan or doing check-ins and essentially wasting my time. Like, if somebody's showing up and doing everything, stuff happens, life happens, but I I always tell my clients, like, our relationship is built on trust and honesty. So like if you ever like fall off your diet, like I'm not gonna food shame you, like it happens because we're human. But if you are like closet eating and you're not telling me, because ultimately my clients are a testament to the coach.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're not adhering to things and it ends up being like a consistent observation that I'm noticing, you're a reflection of me. And I can't let people just pay me and not get results. Like I'm not here for just the money. Like you need to be a good representation of me and and so the one thing the relationship I build with my clients is giving one another grace. Like they give me a lot of grace too.
Yeah.
Because they understand that I have 2 kids. I'm going through a lot of life things right now. And so I've been given a lot of grace. So thank you to my clients. You guys are wonderful. But yeah, I had to let a client go once those boundaries were crossed. Yeah. Or if like, things are being done, yeah, like that trust is broken. Like if things are being done behind your back, like it's just not, we're all adults. So just communication, have a discussion, but that would be the time to let somebody go, in my opinion. And then green flags would be somebody that asks questions and really works hard. Those are my favorite clients. Like I have several where it's like we come in and they're like grinding
Mm-hmm.
and they listen and like I can push them. They're my favorite. They're my absolute favorite. Have you had to fire any like photography or
Yeah, a lot.
how do you handle that?
I mean, I always give chances, and it's the
Mhm.
same thing. I think with anything, there, whether it's business or friendship or relationship, whatever, you have to have that communication. And it's like, okay, from the very beginning, whenever I work with somebody, I tell them, okay, this is how I work. We're going to have a dashboard for you. This is how you will find your information. I'm a very busy person. I never want you to feel like I don't appreciate you because I do. But remember, I also have to make sure that my other clients need to feel appreciated as well. So if you need to get in contact with me and like you need to get on the phone call with me,
Mm-hmm.
set an appointment. Here are 5 ways that you can set an appointment for a calendar that's open whenever you're on the appointment.
Mm-hmm.
Then I will be able to give you my undivided attention. If it's an absolute 911, then yes, just text me 911 and then I'll drop what I can and get to you, you know?
Yep.
But if you can't, if you're like messaging me over something silly and get upset that I'm not getting back to you on a weekend, which is my time, that I
Mm-hmm.
also explain ahead of time, then it's just not we're gonna have to have this conversation again because one, I'm not your employee. I'm a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference. There's a big difference between
Yep.
contractor and employee. And I respect my time and I
Yep.
respect my husband's time and I respect my friend's time and I also respect my other clients' time. So understanding that. And if it keeps being a thing where I'm fine with like answering the same question multiple times.
You have to do that with me.
Not really. What do I have to answer?
I feel like I
No,
always ask the same questions.
no, I don't think so. But like, regardless, I'm fine with
Iterate.
reiterating if I need to. But if it comes to a point where I feel like you're just not listening to me, or if it's just not vibing, sometimes people just don't always work well together,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Well, I think there's also like sometimes there's silent expectations.
Mm-hmm. And so I always try to make sure that those expectations are like out on the table from the very beginning.
Yes. Because it's like silent expectations can really breed like a ground of like,
Resentment.
and yeah, bitterness. And you build up this story in your head about something like they're just ignoring me. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not. Like, I have things going on outside of this one line of communication,
Yeah, exactly.
and silent expectations can go into like literally any type of relationship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, making sure that those expectations, like, what do you expect of me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you text me, do you expect a response in X amount of time? Well, yeah, I would like you to respond to me that day. Okay, well, I'll let you know that's not going to be possible if you text me on a Saturday.
Yeah,
I'm not getting
exactly.
back to you until Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I answer in you know, in the line that people ask me first. So if you're the 10th on the list, you're the 10th to get respond to on that Monday.
Yep.
You know, silent expectations, yeah, can
Mm-hmm.
really mess up.
Yeah, exactly. Or if it's like one of my old clients is that we had to work from afar. It's like, okay, well, I'm working with what you give me. So I need X from you at this time. If I'll remind you 6 times if I need to, but if you agree that, okay, by the 6th time you're going to send it to me, and this is the 20th time that I'm asking you,
At what point do you stop asking?
yeah, exactly. There's that. Or then there's like another client was just like, well, I've never had a contract. I've never done this this type of thing. I'm like, okay, well, you haven't done it in the past, but it doesn't mean that you can't in the future. And I am only doing this to help you and make sure that we are on the same page and that we are both successful and making things organized because, like you, I'm a business and I want to make sure that I get all the deliverables in a nice and clean package.
Mm-hmm.
Not my fault that you had unprofessional previous videographers,
Right. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Well, that's like with my coach, my previous coach online. I
Hmm.
checked in once every 2 weeks when I hear from him in between.
Yeah.
And if I ever had questions, like I'd say, hey, can we jump on a Zoom? Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you need that, just let me know.
Hmm.
And then we would talk. But it was very, I'm so busy
Hmm.
that like I don't want to coach like up my butt.
Yeah.
I don't want to coach hovering or, being a hawk.
Yeah.
Even when I was in the gym with Roland and Seneca, like I had that pressure of them being around me, so I knew I had to perform appropriately.
Yeah.
But they weren't like on me,
Hmm.
like checking on me. So I think some people like when they go into the coaching realm, they expect like that word accountability. They silently expect somebody to be constantly on them,
Hmm.
and it's like you're an adult.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you make your decisions. If you're going to skip out on cardio and I have it on your plan, that's on you.
Yeah.
If I give you a plan and you're going to go out and have a burger, that's on you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be chasing you down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But I do ask, like, hey, did you go off plan this week?
Yeah.
What's going on? But yeah, ultimately, I think the green flags are somebody that really that like just puts in the hard work,
Hmm.
listens, and asks questions.
Yeah. For green flags as far as like videographer or business clients, for me, like that would be somebody that asks questions and somebody that brings ideas to the table, if and communicates what they want. Like I love Dawn with Renew Wellness because she has so many ideas and being able to I always say the more information is better than no information.
Mm-hmm.
And so okay, so she might have a laundry list of things and she might end up coming up with more ideas than I can handle at that time, but then I'm like, okay, love these, keep them coming, and then I just create like a strategy around it
Mm-hmm.
and then we push forward. How However, sometimes she just like today she just posted something and I was just like, that looks hideous. Like, no, I'll redo that one. Thank you for like
Taking
thank
initiative.
taking initiative. I and also thank you for allowing me to restructure things as needed, you know, because one of the biggest things for them was they had business, but they didn't have like a brand
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't have consistency,
Mm-hmm.
which is funny because I mean, consistency you need through everything, right? Like including fitness and bodybuilding and stuff like that.
Yep. That's where I struggle with my platform because I will be like killing it with my diet, and then like I just the thought of social media and I like plummet.
Hmm.
And then I just like, nope, not doing it. And I'm trying to learn how to like manage being overwhelmed with the thought of things because it'll just like, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily the platform. Like I can walk in to my kids' room and see how dirty it is, and I'll be like, oh, and I just walk right back out like I can't do this right now,
Yeah.
which doesn't solve anything.
Yeah.
So that consistency is super important,
Hmm.
but sometimes you need somebody to manage it for you.
Hmm.
Take this.
Yeah.
I'll pay you to do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. So, on that note, I think there is always going to be pros and cons in everything, whether they're your clients or your coaches or your friends or life. and figuring out when it's time. Like the only person that can actually decide whenever it's time is you. So if you just keep having this itch, or if you keep having this thing that is like burning inside of you, go get it checked. No. but, but also if it might just be time for you to literally check yourself and like check to see if it is giving you joy, bringing you joy, and if it's no longer serving you, then it might be time for you to let it go. And that's okay. You can put your ego aside. Like, even if you did say that, even if you did announce that you were going to do X, maybe that is you are going to start a business and whatever by April of 2025, and then there's just something that just keeps getting in the way. Keep working towards it. You can always push things off
Mm-hmm.
if you need to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. But then there are also sometimes where you're like, okay,
If it's a habit,
yeah.
if you do that with
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick sidebar. Have I told you about the paradox?
Which one? You've talked about a couple of them.
While you're learning something new, you feel stupid while you're getting smart.
Yes.
While you're working out, you feel weak.
Yeah.
While you're getting stronger, while you're saving money, you feel broke while you're getting richer. You have to endure the exact opposite of what you're trying to achieve
Mm-hmm.
in order to get there. But I do think that, like, for instance, not to turn this on me, but not competing has been weighing on my heart and mind for about a year.
It's been longer than that.
Probably. Actually, yeah, it's been like 2 years.
Yeah.
And one more show, one more show, one more show. And then I would go back and forth. You've heard me.
Yeah.
Other people have heard me. And then they're probably looking at me like, this woman is wishy-washy. Because I'd go back and forth. Like, I wouldn't know what I wanted, but then it was immediate. Like, when that moment happened, like, before I was like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And then it was immediate, like,
yeah.
And I knew. I knew instantly, like, okay, this is the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was only something that I could determine.
Exactly.
And it took me
years. And that's okay. And sometimes learning when to let go will take time. And give yourself grace.
Yep.
And whenever
give others grace too.
Give others grace. And whenever you finally make that decision and that brings you more joy, then that's whenever you know that you made the right decision.
Yes. Even though I have moments of like, I miss competing.
But the stage is always there.
Yeah, but I'm like, yeah. But I don't miss feeling like crap.
Yeah, exactly. So on that note, we're going to end it.
Yes.
We have a lot of upcoming events. So I have a calendar of Friday flows. Reminder, Friday flows are for fun.
Yep.
And it's an open gym. Todd is going to be coming to all of them, coming forward too. Yeah. So he was like, I think it would be cool to have like one of us like working out, especially because he's going to be on an extended off season. Uh, he's like, if I just like worked out and if anybody wants to like work in with me, then that's fine. They can. I'm like, cool. I think having that as a kind of a safe space. So if anybody wants to work in with each other, then great. As we get closer to the season, then obviously we'll see more people posing and stuff. And then I also wanted to give anybody that RSVPs to these Friday flows, they'll be put into a raffle for a free Champions Retreat ticket.
Oh, nice.
Because Champions Retreats are going to be paid events.
Okay.
Like fully paid events. And
that's June and November.
Yeah, June and November. Okay. June 21st and November 29th. And these are all going to be at the Warhouse. So I will put the calendar right here if you guys want to see it. It will also be in the description. So then you guys can kind of say the date they will be at the Warhouse moving forward. We will have one event in Dallas, and that one's going to be closer to Texas Pro / Texas Classic.
Okay.
But all of them are going to be in San Antonio, and then who knows what we'll do. We might add in a couple other ones, but that's what we got going so far.
Perfect.
So follow us on Instagram and all the social medias. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them below. And don't forget to follow
The Muscle Mommy.
and That Girl Squats or at trail.of.champions. And until next time, we'll see you next time.
Bye.